Hey guys, Josh here from Momentum Productions, and welcome to my new video series on my guide to filmmaking. Today we're going to be talking about a 2-camera setup. Now, what happens when you don't have a second camera operator and you're just by yourself? Well, I'm going to show you the tips and tricks on how to operate 2 cameras, how you should do it properly if you're by yourself. First off, I strongly recommend using 2 of the same cameras and 2 of the same lenses. That way the look is exactly the same, even if you have both cameras on automatic white balance. Since both have the same hardware inside, both sensors should read out the same, along with the lenses. However, if you're using 2 different cameras like me, I'm using the Sony a7R II and the Panasonic GH4, there's 2 different sensor sizes, and I'm using 2 different lenses, completely different hardware. So what I really recommend, if you use this kind of setup or 2 other different kinds of cameras, there are 2 settings that have to be exactly the same in order for your editing process to be very, very easy. For example, the white balance on both cameras has to be set to the same color temperature. For example, I'm shooting on a Sony and a GH4, and both have a 7300 Kelvin color temperature in their white balance, which is why the picture quality looks pretty similar. Also, shutter speeds should also be set the same. That's very, very important. You want the motion blur from both cameras to be exactly the same. You don't want one camera to have more blur than the other. It just wouldn't make sense in a 2-camera setup. Now, when it comes to aperture and focal length, that all has to do with your look and feel. I strongly recommend comparing the 2 cameras' viewfinders and seeing what looks better for you. One lens will be at one focal length, and a different lens on a different body camera will have a completely different focal length to replicate that look on the A camera. So if I'm using a 35mm lens and I'm using a 20 to 135mm lens on another camera, I will have to play around with the focal length in order to get a similar depth of field, even though that lens might have to go up to 50mm to have that same depth of field look as that 35mm. You never know. Each lens is completely different, and because I'm shooting on 2 different sensor sizes, it looks completely different. The math is completely different. So aperture and focal length has to go by your sight. All right, so look and feel, that's the aperture, that's the focal length. So remember that. Now, I cannot state this enough that white balance has been a major issue for me in the past. When I was a rookie amateur starting up in the field, I never worried about white balance. So I had really bad problems in editing, syncing up 2 cameras together with completely different white balances. Color correction was a nightmare. So I cannot stress this enough, always watch your white balance. And secondly, of course, again, watch your shutter speed, because you want the motion blur to be very, very similar. Now that we talked about color and motion blur, I really want to talk to you about what I like to call the 45-degree angle rule. Let's say you're at a gig and you have a second operator. You know, it could be a wedding, could be a party, and any sort of event. You have 2 cameras set up, right? You have camera A, you have camera B. Let's say you're operating camera A, which is the main camera, your friend or coworker is operating camera B, which is the secondary camera. Wherever camera A is, I strongly recommend that you have camera B be at the 45-degree mark away from that A camera, respectively. So as camera A moves, so does camera B. Now, what happens is, if you follow this rule, you will never have the problem of you guys running into each other's shots or light. So that's very, very important. You don't want the client to see the other camera. You want it to seem like the cameras were invisible. So if you stay at a 45-degree angle with each other prospectively, you will never run into each other. Never run into each other's shots either. So, you know, just look at my hand motion. You see, respectively, 45-degree angles. We're never going to run into each other's shots. We're always going to have that same center point and never run into that shot. each other's shot, okay? So keep that in mind. I'm also gonna be filming a tutorial about proper lighting, especially when it comes down to lighting up a green screen. Now that we have color and shutter speed down, let's talk about audio. Audio is crucial in order to perfectly sync up camera A with camera B. All right, so a huge tip I have for you: when you go out in the field and you start shooting with multiple cameras, start and stop at the same time and make sure your audio picks up audio, because waveforms are your best friend in editing when it comes down to multi-cam editing. Remember that, guys. So I recommend that if you, let's say you have a lavalier mic like on me, and on the B camera probably doesn't have any lavalier mics on it, you put on a good quality mic like a Rode Stereo Video Mic Pro. That way it picks up the audio pretty crisp and clear, and you'll have a better chance at syncing up your multicam clips, multicam images that way, just by using the waveforms. All right, so it's very, very important that you pick up audio with two cameras. Now let's say you're shooting a documentary or you're shooting a short film. That's why they have Slate, the clapper. The clapper spikes the waveforms in editing. That way the editor will be able to match the audio simply by that spiked sound. So that's why they use the clapper. Now, usually when I'm shooting a documentary, I don't really need help with the B camera if I'm using two cameras. So I can just clap and start recording both cameras, and in editing, pop it into Final Cut, and Final Cut will automatically find that spiked waveform and sync up the audio and video perfectly. But let's say you don't have the best audio recording. Well, I'm going to teach you right now in my editing suite how I manually match up video and audio clips. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to my editing suite. We are in Final Cut Pro 10, and I'm going to be showing you how to edit multicam clips. First off, I'm going to show you the really simple way, and this is for only Final Cut Pro users. I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop my video clips. Alright, here it's very important that you label each folder where your footage is. So here's my A7R2 footage, and if I double click, I have my clips. Now if I used more than one card, I would put in the A7R2 folder card 1, card 2, card 3, how many cards I use. Same thing with the GH4. I like to separate all of my footage into folders. Very important, so you're very organized. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop my clips. Alright, perfect. So we have my GH4 clip and my Sony clip. Now you can see here that I'm looking at my cell phone. I'm actually using my cell phone as a viewfinder for this Sony camera, because Sony has a cool feature called Remote, and you can actually, and it's a free application on the Sony Alpha cameras where you can just see what the camera's seeing through your phone. So that's what I was doing to check my framing. So that's important when you don't have a camera that doesn't have a flexible screen. So it's very important when you start multicam editing that you choose the clips, obviously the same clips recorded from two different cameras, but that they're the same length. Final Cut can be a little bit annoying when you do multicam editing with clips that don't have the same length, which is why I told you in my video that you should start and stop rolling with more than one camera at the same time. You don't want to start and stop at different times. You want to just keep the camera rolling all at once, okay? Same time stop, same time start. You guys know that drill. So I'm going to go ahead and select both of these clips. You know, in Final Cut it's so simple. Right click and then click on New Multicam Clip. Click OK, and it's going to automatically sync up the footage for you, no problem. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop that untitled multicam clip that Final Cut created. We have a black screen here. I can go ahead and just trim that out. This has to do with me not starting and stopping at the same time, so we don't have to worry about that black stuff. Now once we have this, you can notice that it only shows you one clip. It only shows you one clip. We're going to go ahead and go into Multicam Editor. So what we're going to do, we're going to click on Window, Then we're going to click on Viewer Display, Show Angles. Boom. Now we have both angles. As you can see, Final Cut perfectly synced the clips together. And what we're going to do, first off, we're going to select which camera is getting the audio feed. And that was the main camera, which is the Sony. So we're going to click on this audio waveform tool here. And then we're going to click on the Sony clip. So now audio is being taken from the Sony clip. What about video? Now you just can go back and forth between the video clips of the Sony and the Panasonic. So let it play.
Hey guys, Josh here from Momentum Production.
I'm going to mute it. And you can just go back and forth between the cuts by clicking on the clips. Boom. Panasonic. Boom. Sony. Boom. Panasonic. Boom. Sony. Whoa, 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 whoa. See, Final Cut did an excellent job. Now, what happens if you don't have Final Cut and you don't have, Final Cut is not able to create a perfectly synced clip? Now, this applies to all video editing software because it's all the same. So let's go ahead and drag and drop my Sony clip and my Panasonic clip. Alright, so if we notice here, if we look at the waveforms, we notice that it doesn't really match up. Let's look at the length of the clips. We notice that the Panasonic clip is slightly longer than the Sony clip, okay? But let's go ahead and see how we can sync up the video and audio. Waveforms, again, they're your best friend. So we want to make sure by zooming in, we need to find a pattern in the camera A's waveform and match it up, and match up the B's waveform with the A's waveform. So look at peaks and look at drops, and we'll be able to figure some stuff out here. Let's go ahead and play the top clip, which is the Sony. I'm going to mute the lower clip, and let's see what happens.
Hey guys, Josh here from Momentum Productions.
Okay, hey guys, Josh here from Momentum Productions. Let's see where we hear that from the from the Panasonic clip.
Hey guys, Josh here
right there, okay? So we're going to go ahead and trim that clip down to there and match it up with the Sony. Alright, that way we know where it's supposed to start up. Okay. Now I'm going to listen to both clips together and see if there's any weird resonance or echoing going on.
Hey guys, Josh here from Momentum Production.
Okay, there is, but we're very, very close to syncing up the footage. So if we zoom in, once we lined up our clips, we can go ahead and mess around with the Panasonic clip to make sure it matches with the Sony. So it looks like the Panasonic is lagging just a little bit. We can look at the peaks here, they're not lining up. The Sony is ahead a little bit. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the front of the Panasonic clip and trim it and bring it over just a tad. Now it looks like they're lined up pretty well. So let's go ahead and play both clips together and see how well it sounds.
Hey guys, Josh here from Momentum Productions.
It's perfect.
And welcome to my new video series on my guide to...
It's perfect. So it's really simple. As long as you zoom in on the waveforms, you can match the audio very, very simply. And then once you match the audio, you can go ahead and, trim or cut, do whatever you want. And go from... You're going to have to lift it up from the storyline. That's the only thing that's different from Final Cut. So lift from storyline, and then I can just delete this clip, and it will go right to the right to the Panasonic camera. So watch this.
On my guide to film.
See? Yeah, it's very, when you do it manually, you got to be very good on time. One little clip that misaligns with the second clip will really throw everything off.
Video series on my guide to filmmaking.
Okay, what if I want to make that a little longer of a switch? So I'm going to go back here, cut it, change it, lift from storyline,
delete that clip.
Welcome to my new video series on my guide to filmmaking.
See, it's perfectly
Welcome
synced.
to my new video series on my guide to filmmaking.
So that's honestly the simplest way you can sync up clips. As you can see, it took me only a few minutes. As long as you look at the waveforms, you are golden. I promise you, I've done it so many times. Even without a clapper, you'll be able to pull this off. I didn't use a clapper on my shoot today, and look how well it's synced up. You just got to make sure that all cameras are recording sound and pretty, decent quality mics are used, like the Rode Stereo Video Mic Pro, because that one's really, really sensitive and it picks up audio very well. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions whatsoever, please comment or email me at info@capturethemomentum.com. If you are a company and you would like me to do a review or tutorial on one of your products, please also email me at info@capturethemomentum.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see what you will create. And sign up for my free newsletter at my website. Go to capturethemomentum.com and a pop-up will come up. Just fill out your information. You'll get my free newsletter, and you'll be entered to win a free month's worth of coaching, Skype coaching from me. So, alright guys, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.